A position with some high-profile prospects still out there that are uncommitted is definitely the edge position. You have five-star Keon Keeley, five-star Damon Wilson, five-star Qua Russaw, five-star Samuel M'Pemba. And a couple of these guys may be closing in on decisions. Let's start with Keon Keeley. Tampa, Florida, Berkeley Prep, #1 edge in the country. He's at Bama for his official visit this weekend. The buzz shifted over the last month, 4 or 5 weeks, from Alabama to Ohio State. The one-time Notre Dame commitment took 2 visits to Ohio State in September, one official, one unofficial. And there's definitely some buzz around the Buckeyes with his connection with Larry Johnson, the fit into the defensive scheme up front, being that next Chase Young, that next Joey Bosa. They're definitely doing a good job in Columbus with Keon Keeley. This weekend is huge for Alabama. They're at least, if not #1, some still think they have the edge. They're at least #2. Florida, the in-state schools fall into #3, we feel like, based on the intel we get from sources, but they're still very much in this too. But Alabama has him and the family on campus this weekend for the official visit. Can they make up some ground? Can they extend their lead? He obviously speaks very often to numerous coaches from Alabama, including Nick Saban. He likes their overall program, how they win, the structure, the NFL production. Numerous things stand out about Alabama to Keon Keeley. This could be his final visit before making that decision. I'm told somewhere mid-late October, at the latest early November. So he's definitely one to watch. Could he get back to the University of Florida, being his local, easy trip? That's something that we're definitely watching. But right now we see this as the final visit. That's pretty much likely. And a decision coming down between Alabama, Ohio State, and University of Florida. Moving on to Samuel M'Pemba, another guy I think commits sometime in the near future. He's back at Georgia this weekend. He was at a game in September in Athens. He tripped to Georgia in the spring, also in the summer. I like where Georgia's trending here with M'Pemba. The St. Louis athlete now plays at IMG Academy, actually was at Missouri last weekend watching Georgia play the in-state program. So the interest seems to be extremely high in the University of Georgia. He has a great connection with edge coach Deribe. He loves Kirby Smart's defensive scheme, ran by Glenn Schumann and Will Muschamp. He obviously loves the SEC, the fit, the competition. So watch Georgia with Samuel M'Pemba. I think the schools involved there also still are Miami, LSU, and Tennessee. But Georgia seems to be creating a pretty significant gap between them and the other schools. Looking at Qua Russaw, right there in Montgomery, Alabama, Carver High School. Auburn's in this. Alabama's in this. He's going to Florida next weekend for an official visit. He mentions Georgia in play as well. We'll see how it all plays out, but right now it's shaping up to be really, I think, an in-state battle. I've mentioned before on here, Alabama, I think, is the school to beat. I think that's pretty clear at this point. But he does like Auburn. He likes Jimmy Brumbaugh. He likes Brian Harsin. He likes the culture, the campus feel at Auburn University. We know there's some noise around there about what's happening with the coaching staff potentially. Is Harsin here at the end of the year? Is he here next season? That's something to watch. But I know from a school standpoint, Russaw likes Auburn. I think Florida made a big impression when he was on campus late in July at Friday Night Lights, and that makes next weekend's OV even that much more important for him and the University of Florida. The X factor, of course, too, with Qua Russaw is his teammate and close friend, James Smith. They want to go to school together. They plan to commit together. They will take their visits together. They're both hanging out locally at Alabama State this weekend. Those two guys are making a decision together. Ohio State's involved. James Smith has some family there in Ohio, but I think right now it's more local. Alabama, Auburn, keep an eye on Florida. Can't sleep on Georgia. They've definitely, I think, fallen some. And then you have Ohio State. Finishing up with Damon Wilson, a top 5 player, number 4 in the country for us in the On 300, taking his official visit to the University of Georgia this weekend. Took an OV to Alabama over the summer, was at Ohio State for an OV in September. And now you have Georgia with their opportunity this weekend. I said back in September, I was hearing more buzz around Georgia than maybe people were thinking or people were talking about. I still think going into this weekend, I probably lean towards Ohio State having a slight edge. I mean, just thinking about what Ohio State could do on the defensive line front with the potential guys they could get in this class is kind of unreal. We'll talk about that maybe on another day, but I think Ohio State goes into this weekend trending for Damon Wilson, but not maybe by as much as people think. I think Georgia, again, Coach Uribe has connected with Wilson, not just Wilson, but his family. His father's heavily involved as well. It'll be Damon's decision, but the dad is very much a part of this. He understands the process. He knows what's going on kind of behind the scenes, how to read between the lines. He's there kind of to assist his young son. And Damon, the 5-star from Venice High School in South Florida. So this week is big for Damon, for Georgia, and I think for his recruitment. There's been talk about him nearing a decision, a few weeks ago. I think he's kind of put the pause button on that. He'll take this visit. The plan, I think, is to kind of extend the process at least deep into the fall, maybe even after the season. Miami would love to get him on campus for an official visit as well. They're very much in play, but this weekend is all about Georgia. I think Georgia is right now riding in a close second behind Ohio State. Can they make that gap even tighter? Can they even use this weekend to propel over Ohio State to become the number 1 school for Damon Wilson? That's what we're watching this weekend. We'll definitely check the buzz, the feedback in the coming days. But again, the edge position loaded with big names, and a couple of those guys can make decisions here soon. And there's numerous schools in play: Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State. Could any of these schools get 2 of these guys? Ohio State trending for Keeley, trending for Damon Wilson. But what about Bama? Could they pull Damon Wilson, Keon Keeley? It's going to be fun to watch, man. There's some elite talent right here at this position.